We are going to talk today about AI tools to streamline your development workflow. Okay, this is a super generic title. I know. Basically, I'm going to show you some Monday tools that you can use to integrate with LLMs, integrate with AI, and write code faster. Okay, some housekeeping. Number one, we have a Q&A section in the Zoom. Go ahead and use that if you have any questions. That way, it won't get pushed up in the chat. We have a lot of people joining today. Or at least registered. So there could be a lot of activity in there. And also number two, say hi in the chat. I would love to see who's here. You can set your chat to send a message to just the hosts or to everyone. Um, I recommend setting it to everyone so everyone knows that you're around. But yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and get started. So, just to begin, I am Dipro. Quick introduction. I am a senior developer advocate here at Monday. I've been at Monday since 2018. And one of the reasons I put my hand up to do this webinar is because I like to think of myself as an AI realist. Okay. When ChatGPT and these other tools came out, I thought that it's interesting that a company wants to like build an everything machine, something that can like answer any question, do anything. Um, and those kinds of hesitations have not gone away, but we do live in a world that is way more AI enabled than it was even like 2 years ago. And so we need to know how to use these tools. Okay, so even though most of my webinars are pretty product oriented, showing you how to use features, etc. This one is also a little bit of my take on AI, on LLMs, and so on. And so just keep in mind that if I go off on a tangent and I'm telling you some of my opinions, those are my opinions. They're not Mondays. But I do think it's important to like know the context and limitations of these tools when you're using them, because there's like a lot of like marketing out there in the world. But yeah, with that, just do a quick chat check. Oh, so many people are saying hi. Amazing. I love the person who said hi, Earthlings. I'm gonna say hi, Earthlings back. Okay. Um, So, in terms of who's in the room, let's start by talking about like who are we talking to today? Typically, I assume we've got a mix of folks here. We've got some average people who are not really sure how to progress past ChatGPT, possibly overwhelmed. I am one of those people for sure. If you are in the room and you're in that boat, totally cool. We're gonna have a lot of content for you here. And then we also have seasoned users in the room. Okay, this is folks who are already vibe coding, already using AI agents, MCPs, LLMs in their day-to-day life. Hope you can get something out of this as well. I'm going to show you some pretty cool tools and how to use them. And yeah, I think we'll be able to cover both bases. Speaking of the things that we're going to cover, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to start by doing an intro to LLMs, an intro to agents for anyone who's coming in with not that much context. I'm then going to walk you through our new AI dev tools. Okay, so we have two new MCPs as well as some LLM context that you can use to interact with Monday, use Monday components, and do it in a way that's like accurate and not prone to hallucination or less prone to hallucination. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to use those tools. We're going to then talk a little bit about using these tools effectively, common issues that come up. And right at the end, I have a slide on recent updates to our product as well. So if you have missed any of our new product or recent product updates, we'll walk through that as well. And we have 45 minutes. So right at the end, I'm going to try and leave 5 or 10 minutes for Q&A. We have a lot of people in the room today, so not sure if I'll be able to cover everything, but hopefully I can cover a good chunk. All right. So let's talk about LLMs and agents. What are they? Why do we use them? Why are they interesting? Okay. First off, what is an LLM? Okay, an LLM is a large language model. Okay, these are statistical models that output text in response to a question. Okay, every time we are writing something into the ChatGPT text box or sending a prompt to Claude, a question to Claude, we're calling that is the input. We call that a prompt. Okay, so later if you hear me using this word prompt, That's what I mean. Now, an LLM is a statistical model. Okay, this means it is a mathematical tool that mimics a statistical process. In this case, the process is generating text, generating output. Another statistical process that you can think of is a line of best fit. If you remember back to your science class in school, you probably did like some experiment. You had to gather some data points and then draw a line of best fit. In my science class, you had to do 7 data points and then like draw the line of best fit. LLMs have way more data than that. Um, these are models that so-called like ate the internet. And so there's a lot of information that the LLM is working off when returning some data, returning an answer to you. And that's really important because it means we need to be thoughtful about what kinds of questions we ask it and what to expect in a response. Okay. We'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about how to use our MCPs. Okay. Now, with this in mind, okay, LLM, large language model, I've heard a lot about that. We also now, in the last maybe year or so, have been hearing a lot more about AI agents as well. I wanted to cover that a little bit too. So an AI agent is an LLM, okay, under the hood, but it is an LLM that's empowered to do tasks on behalf of a user. Okay, that's how we can think about it. Um, Now, there's different flavors of agents. There's kind of a spectrum of agentic behavior. But the way that I really like to simplify it is it's an LLM that can do tasks for you. Okay. Um, the agents are using familiar LLMs under the hood, whether that's GPT, whether that's Claude, Llama. These models are now being constructed to do agentic tasks. And when we're talking about like how these do it, they're really just the normal models that you've been used to in the last few years, but optimized to complete tasks and show reasoning. Okay, so this is essentially giving these agents additional permissions to do things, and then return reasoning, which is essentially a additional output that says, okay, this is what I'm going to do before doing it. Okay, the benefit of this output, and you'll see it in a little bit, is that it gives us insight into what the agent is about to do, and it also keeps it a little bit more on track because the output or the thoughts will be used in the context as well. Typically, when you're like shopping around for LLMs or agents, you'll see like 10,000 different models that you can choose from. Typically, these are using the same base model, but then are additionally tuned and optimized either to be more powerful. For example, when you're talking about GPT, you can get like GPT 4.0, 4.0 Max, or they can be more optimized for mini, for nano, DeepSeek R10 versus R1, that kind of thing. Typically, they're like the same base model. They're just adding a little flavor. And if you want to go really deep into it, AI agents can also collaborate with other agents. So this is essentially two LLMs talking to each other. We're not going to go into that today. We're really just going to talk about single agent workflows. But that is also something that's possible if you're interested. Okay, so I said that like LLMs can do tasks on our computer, right? But how do they do that, right? Well, what does this even mean, right? If you are used to opening up your browser, going into ChatGPT, and then asking it a question, right? How does that then start doing things on your computer? Well, that's the main thing we're going to talk about today. LLMs use MCPs to do that. Okay, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, which doesn't really tell you anything. So I just use the word MCP. It is basically an API for LLMs to do actions. Okay, LLMs have the ability to like return a lot of text, but they can't do anything in the real world. MCPs allow it to do something in the real world. Okay. Um, when we build MCPs, so Monday has a few MCPs, we expose functions for LLMs to use. We call them tools. Each tool does something specific. It's literally a function, okay, that takes some arguments and then does something. For example, maybe you want to list files in a specific directory on your on your computer. Okay, this is an MCP that I think Claude has access to by default. Okay, so you can look at, you can read like recent downloads or something like that, right? But you can also do more complex things or more specific things, such as creating an item on a board with a specific name, perhaps with some specific column values. Our Monday MCP exposes a function to do that. You can also clone GitHub repositories from URLs. There's all sorts of functions that you can package as an MCP and then give to an LLM to actually execute. And the way the LLM actually interacts with these tools is that they generate the arguments for these functions. Okay. So we think about LLMs as returning text. We don't want the LLM to be able to do anything. So instead, we scope it to specific tools and we say, okay, LLM, you do not need to figure out how to generate a GraphQL API call and then make an API call to Monday and then get the result and then give it to us. Instead, all you have to do is call this function, create item, and you have to give me the name of the item and the board ID that you want to create the item on. And then we, the Monday MCP tool, will handle the rest. Okay. This is why I call it an API for LLMs, because the LLM is not actually doing the action, it's passing the task over to the MCP to do it. Okay, now I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions as we're going through this, do put it in the chat. I'm happy to talk through like the MCP protocol if we want to, um, or we can just move on. Okay. Um, Now, as we're talking about agents, I just want to flag a couple of agents that we're going to talk about today, or LLM clients. One is called Claude. This is the based on Anthropic's product Claude, but packaged in a desktop app. So as I said before, you can do actions on your local machine. Claude is really good for kind of general purpose actions. It is the same experience pretty much as your online version, only now you can do fun stuff like reading files from your computer or connecting to MCPs. Okay, I'm going to show you a demo in a little bit that uses Claude to access Monday, which I think is pretty cool. And Claude is really a good like entry point for that. Now, if you are a developer, Claude will like generate code for you, but it will not, you will still have to go and copy that code and paste it into your files. Um, if you want to do more vibe coding, I recommend using an IDE for that. Cursor is a good place to start. Cursor is a Visual Studio fork with additional agent capabilities. So this will be a familiar experience if you are coming from Visual Studio. Um, Cursor is like one of the hottest companies in the world because it's really optimized for coding. Its models are tuned to read your code base, answer questions on it, and write code as well. And it has tons of different modes, including the ability to just answer questions or to like write code in the background, like write an entire app in the background, or somewhere in the middle where you wanted maybe just to like run a script or fix some CSS. You can do all of that with Cursor, and it's pretty cool. And I'm going to show you how to use it in a second as well. All right, so I've talked very generally so far about AI agents, LLMs, and so on, but I hope this kind of contextualizes the tools that I'll be showing today. But I'm going to show you three tools today. I'm going to show you number one, an MCP for Vibe components. I'm going to show you some tools for giving LLMs more context about using Monday. And I'm also going to show you an MCP for using our platform API so you can actually do stuff inside of Monday. The first two tools are really good for developers who are building applications and want to use the Monday the Monday features such as our React components through Vibe or using our API. They will essentially tell agents the correct usage of these components and APIs so that they don't have to guess or get some like outdated documentation from their training set. And then the last one, the MCP for the platform API, lets agents do actions inside of Monday. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second as well. All right, so let's start with our Vibe component MCP. Now this is a set of tools to let LLMs learn more about the components that are available in Vibe. We have two tools. One lists the props and metadata for the tools, and number two, and the second one shows boilerplate for every single Vibe component. Okay, this is really useful because if you tell an LLM with no context, please use the heading component from Monday, it will guess what the heading component looks like. It will often make up props or use the component with the wrong children because it's trained on a lot of different heading components from a lot of different libraries. Monday is not the only one that has a heading component bundled with it. And so giving it this extra context, listing out the props, showing it some boilerplate will make it more accurate. And the audience for this MCP is really for developers who are building with our React components. So if you are building front-end apps and you want to dig into vibe coding, use this. Okay, a couple of ideas. Number one, if you want to like learn about a component without digging into our documentation, using this MCP is a great way to do that. You can list out specific components. You can say, hey, give me the props for the heading component, and it'll tell you the props. And then number two is also really good for quick prototyping, okay? Creating MVPs, using Vibe components, and even making GraphQL calls. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about this context as well, giving additional context to LLMs, and then I'll show you a demo because all of this is very theoretical at the moment. Okay. So the second feature is a set of text files that we're calling LLM context, and that we're releasing that tells LLMs how to use Monday correctly. Okay. LLMs generally live in a strange and confusing world of all of their training data. They don't necessarily know how to use Monday specifically, even if they've been trained on Monday documentation. And so we need to tell them a little bit more about how to use these SDKs, how to use these APIs. Okay. Yeah, LLMs get confused easily. Um, we are providing a set of text rules that you can ask your agent to use when doing a specific task. Okay, so you can say, please make an API call and use the rules in frontend usage.txt. Okay, and what the LLM will do is it'll take that and it'll say, okay, these rules tell me how to use our API client, how to format my GraphQL queries, and have code samples for that. I will use that when returning some output. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second. This is really good for developers who are using our API client, especially. So the previous MCP for Vibe was really for front-end developers, but any developer who is using our SDKs can actually use the LLM context. And you can even use it to write GraphQL queries easily too. All right. So I've talked about context, but like, what is context? Why do we want to supply this? Okay. Without this additional context, okay, that we give with our MCPs, with our LLM context files, LLMs will make up APIs that sound correct. Okay. If you're not deeply familiar with Monday APIs, you will read the code and you'll say, okay, that seems to work. And it may or it may not work, or it may work and then break down the line, right? It could be using outdated APIs. It could be generating wrong GraphQL schemas, or wrong GraphQL queries. So that's not great. With context, however, it is more likely to write correct GraphQL code, and you can even like pass the agent specific documentation by URL. Okay. With all of that in mind, I've talked about this for a long time. Let's go ahead and do a demo. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Give me 1 second to get this all set up, and then we can start. By the way, I see some questions about recordings and slides. I am definitely going to send those over to you after this call. All righty. So Sorry, just give me 1 second. I have a lot of windows and only one screen. Okay, now you should be able to see all of my windows right here. Um, so let me walk you through a little bit about what I'm going to do. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use Cursor, which is this VS Code looking thing in front of me right now, as well as our MCPs and our LLM context to build an app with very little work or build an MVP with very little work. Okay. To do that, I am going to use some prompts, which I have in this text file right here. I don't want you to have to watch me type out long prompts, and so I've got these all set up. And I am actually going to try and do as little as possible. Okay, I'm going to try and get Cursor to do everything for me. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to install sample code. We're going to then add this LLM context. Okay, actually that I'm going to do myself. And then we're going to add some basic UI to our app. And we're along the way we may need to force it to use the MCP. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so step one, I want to install the sample code. So what this prompt is doing, I'm going to just copy it in here and then we can talk about it. I'm going to ask Cursor to do this. Okay, I want to initialize a new Monday app. Clone the following Git repo using npx dgit. Okay, dgit is a like a CLI script, I guess, that I like using because it clones Git repositories without all the Git history. And then I'm gonna ask it to run npm install. Okay, so I hit go. And now what Cursor is doing, it is in agent mode. So it is going to first talk through what it is going to do. Okay, this is what I was calling thought earlier. And you can actually like read what it's going to do. It essentially just like outputs a plan and then uses that plan to do the thing. It then has the ability to actually like run scripts on my machine. Typically, I don't let it run scripts automatically. You have to, by default, um, you have to like manually say, yes, run the script, run the script. But just for the purpose of this video, I've turned that off so it has full control over my machine. This is not a good idea, but it's what I do right now. Okay. And while I've been talking, it has actually done all of that. Okay, so it's cloned the Quick Start React directory from our sample apps. You can see that all of that is in here in AI Webinar, and it's also run npm install, and the output is in here. Okay, great. So now we have all of that. The next thing I want to do is actually like make Cursor a little bit smarter. So I want to use our LLM context for that. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to open up our LLM context repository. Okay, so this lives inside of the GraphQL API client. And if you look at the LLM context folder, you'll see a bunch of different rules. These are essentially best practices for an agent to use. I'm using Cursor. The way that I'm doing it is cursor oriented, but Windsurf and uh, Microsoft Copilot have different ways of like attaching context too. So all of these agents allow you to do this. Okay, and if you look at any of these rules, let's go to front end usage rules. This is a markdown file that basically tells it how to correctly make API calls. Okay, so we want to use the correct API client, in this case, the seamless API client, and then some boilerplate about how to actually like get data from Monday. Okay, it's very simple, but it does a little bit to make the LLM a little bit more accurate. Okay. Cool. So in order to actually use this in my project, I need to import this into my project as cursor rules. I have a command here, uses dgit again, to copy this LLM context into the cursor rules folder. I hit go. Now I have a cursor folder with all of these rules in here. By default, these rules will only be used when the LLM chooses to use them. You can edit these rules to make it to force the agent to like always use them. But in this case, I'm leaving it to the LLM, but I can also invoke these rules whenever I want. Okay, so step two was installing the rules. Now, step three, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start editing this app. Okay. So first, npm run start. Let's have this app running and let's see it in my browser, and then we can see how it's changed. Okay. So I already have this set up here. This is Monday, my custom app. This is connected to my local tunnel already, and nothing is happening, which is great. Okay, tunnel is up and running on this to this URL. Oh, here it is. It just took a little while. Great. So this is the basic starter code that you get from our quick start. It is what it is. And now I want to actually like make it do some more interesting things. Okay. By the way, I have so many windows here. I'm just gonna clean up a little bit. So here is my next prompt, okay? I am going to ask it to replace this attention box with some other components, okay? And to begin with, I'm not going to explicitly ask it to use the MCP. It has access to it. It may use it, it may not. If it doesn't, then we can work on that, work from there. Um, so it is now getting the app.jsx file, which I mentioned inside of the prompt. And actually, if I open app.jsx, as it starts to edit app.jsx, I will start seeing that in the cursor UI as well. All right. And as it's working, I'm just going to talk through this with you. If it did use the Vibe MCP, it would say that it did use the Vibe MCP. In this case, it did not. And so I'm not sure if it will have added the heading correctly. Okay. But it may have. Actually, before this call, it added it wrong. This time it seems to be have added it correctly. But let me just accept these by default, and then let me go in and see. Okay, so now I have this heading and I have this button, get users. Um, uh, Let me inspect, go to the console. When I click get users, it should return something to the console. No, it doesn't. There's no on click or anything. Um, okay, so now it's like mocked up a little bit of UI, and it is actually using our components, which is nice. The next thing I wanted to do is actually like make an API call when I hit get users. Okay, so for that, I have another prompt. Okay, this is fetching a list of users. Please fetch a list of users from the Monday API when the button is clicked. Please use the rules in, and then here I can do at and choose a cursor rule, front-end usage rules, to make the Monday GraphQL API correctly. Okay. If I didn't at mention this, it may have used these rules anyway, but I just want to explicitly give it access. Now, while I'm doing this, we've got a couple of questions. While this is running, let me tell you how I added it to my cursor environment. Okay. Um,